G'day and welcome to the Choosing Your Uni Virtual Expo. I'm your host Rob Malicki and welcome to this session on the University of New South Wales. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm standing and working, which are the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I'd like to acknowledge all the other custodians as well. Now, before I get started, I just want to let you know what's coming up in the next 20 minutes. But firstly, those of you who are joining me live, thank you for being here on the live stream. You can ask your questions in the chat, regardless of which platform you're on. And if you're watching this on the replay, then these are the topics we're going to be covering in the next 20 minutes or so. We're going to be talking about what New South Wales is known for and who do well studying there. We're going to hear about what students say who are actually studying there, and we're going to find out about its academic strengths. We're then going to get into the hard data, things like student satisfaction, employment, salary, rankings. And I'll be really straight with you about what those numbers mean for you. We're going to get behind the hype, and at the end, I'll also tell you which universities I would actually compare UNSW Sydney against, just to help you build your shortlist. So if you're watching live, drop your questions in the chat and we'll try to get to them at the end. And if you're on the replay, jump into the Choosing Your Uni Discord where you'll find the link in the description below. And that's where you can have all of your questions, personal or general, answered. And for parents, we do have a dedicated Facebook group just for you. Answers in the chat, in the session description down below. But before we get started, this event has been made possible by our presenting partner, Southern Cross University. So a quick message from them and then we're going to get straight into it.
Today's students are tomorrow's front line. Today's visionaries will become tomorrow's leaders. And today's research will discover tomorrow's solutions. For ourselves, for others, and for our world. Southern Cross University. Transforming tomorrow.
University of New South Wales graduates earn the highest starting salaries of any university in the country. They're not seconds, they're not the top three, they are number one. $87,500 a year on average for graduates. Now, that's a stat that's worth sitting with. But here's the thing. The University of New South Wales probably isn't for you if you want a small, intimate university where your lecturers know your name from day one. There are over 60,000 students on the main campus. It's huge. I love it. It's a great campus, but it is busy. And if that sounds overwhelming, this might not be your place. It's also probably not for you if you want a slow, relaxed pace. UNSW has an intense academic culture. People work hard there. And if you're looking for somewhere cruisy, where you can ease into uni life, then maybe you might want to look somewhere else. And honestly, if Sydney's cost of living scares you, and it scares me every single day, then it should at least make you pause and consider that as a real factor. Sydney is one of Australia's most expensive cities, and living near the campus isn't cheap. But if you're someone who wants to be pushed, who wants a strong career outcomes from day one, and who thrives when there's energy and ambition around you, then keep watching. Before I tell you what I think, let's hear from someone who's actually studied there. Neil, maybe let's come back to you for a moment. What do you think makes UNSW special and unique?
for me, we've been talking about it so much already, but it's about all the different opportunities that you have here. And I think the most special aspects for me is the sense of community that you can find at UNSW. Just when you're going to university with 70,000 different students, you're bound to find people that have the same interests as you, have the same goals as you. And I think that's really, really valuable for me, where I can find my own niche of people who are driven in the same way that I am.
If you've got questions about the University of New South Wales or about uni in general, make sure you drop them in the chat and I will do my best to get to them. Now let me give you the full picture. So here are 3 things that I think define UNSW. The first is engineering and applied sciences at an elite level. This is where UNSW started back in 1949 and it's still where the university shines brightest. Their mineral and mining engineering program is ranked 2nd in the entire world. Not 2nd in Australia, 1st in Australia, 2nd in the entire world. Law is 12th in the world and 1st in Australia. Accounting and finance, architecture, civil engineering, all in the global top 25. Across the board, 24 of their subjects sit in the global top 50. So if you're drawn to engineering, law, or business, UNSW is genuinely one of the strongest options in the country. Second, this is an employer-focused university. UNSW has been recognised as producing Australia's most employable graduates for 6 straight years by the Australian Financial Review. And that's not by accident. It's baked into how the university operates. They embed what's called work-integrated learning across their degrees. That means internships, industry projects and placements are built into your course, not tacked on as an afterthought. And their founders program, which is their startup incubator, has been ranked number 1 in Australia for many years, and actually one of the best entrepreneurship programs in the world. They support around 400 startups and projects a year, and they make over 200,000, I'll say that again, 200,000 in funding available to students who get accepted. So if you've got an entrepreneurial streak, that is a serious resource. If you're interested in how career paths are changing, especially with AI reshaping the job market, the session from UNE on AI and the future of work is really worth a look, and we're going to go deep on what the working world is actually going to look like in the next decade. So look for that session in the description below. Now, the third thing about UNSW is the Kensington campus, which is about 7 kilometres from the centre of Sydney, tucked between the city and the eastern beaches. You're in one of the biggest, most connected cities in the country. That means access to employers, to industry, to internships, to culture of life. It's all right there for you. And the light rail runs from right outside UNSW down to the city centre. For international networking and career opportunities, being in Sydney is a genuine structural advantage. Now, I should flag one big recent change. UNSW introduced a trimester system back in 2019. That was 3 shorter 10-week teaching terms instead of the traditional 2 semesters. It was really controversial. Students were kind of pissed off and reported significant workload and stress issues. So to their credit, in 2025, the university announced it's phasing trimesters out and moving back to what they call a flexible semester system by 2026. That means 2 12-week semesters with mid-semester breaks that actually line up with school holidays, plus optional summer and winter intensive terms if you want them. I think that's a good move, and it shows a university that's listening, and it should make a real difference to the student experience going forward. Universities should be trying new things and also admitting when they get wrong and moving back to a system that works. So if you're trying to figure out how UNSW fits into the broader picture of Australian universities, check out our Start Here, Getting Started with Choosing a Uni session, which walks you through how to think about these decisions. It's a great foundation before you start comparing individual universities. All right, let's get into the academic details. UNSW has 7 faculties: Arts, Design and Architecture, Business, Engineering, Law and Justice, Medicine and Health, Science, and UNSW Canberra, which is currently located at the Australian Defence Force Academy, ADFA, but it's also developing a footprint in the centre of Canberra, making it the only university campus in the country that is dedicated to educating our Defence Force personnel. Engineering is the crown jewel. All 8 of UNSW's engineering schools rank in the global top 50, and 2 are in the global top 10 for their specific disciplines. The Australian Centre for Advanced Photovoltaics, led by Professor Martin Green, holds multiple world records for solar and cell efficiency. If you've heard about breakthroughs in solar energy over the past few decades, almost certainly they came out of UNSW. They've also invested over $450 million in research facilities, high-performance computing, and specialist equipment. That's not a number that universities throw around lightly. In health and medicine, the Kirby Institute has been a global leader in HIV, AIDS, and infectious disease research since the 1980s. The Black Dog Institute, which focuses on mental health research and clinical services, is also based at UNSW. These aren't just research centres that publish academic papers, they directly shape health policy and treatment in Australia and beyond. Law and Justice, as I mentioned, ranks 12th globally and first in Australia. The business school, anchored by the Australian Graduate School of Management, has super strong industry ties and a reputation that carries real weight with employers. One thing that makes UNSW quite distinct from some other research-intensive universities is how strongly it pushes practical application. This isn't a place where research just stays in a lab. The Founders Program channels research into real businesses, and the uni is investing a lot of real money into commercialising those learnings and successes. Work integrated learning puts students into real workplaces, including some who've worked for Choosing Your Uni in the past, and the university's culture leans heavily towards what can we do with this knowledge, rather than just developing knowledge for its own sake, which isn't a bad thing by in its own right, by the way. Now, UNSW also runs an Indigenous admissions scheme through Narragilly, which is their Centre for Indigenous Programs. The name comes from the Eora Nation language and means place of fire and light. The scheme offers interview-based entry that doesn't depend on your ATAR, and that's, of course, the ATAR is your admissions rank, your Australian Tertiary Admissions rank, which is the main score used for school leaver university entry, which runs from 0 to 99.95. They also run a 3-week intensive preparatory program that provides another pathway in. And that really matters because access to a university this highly ranked shouldn't just depend on a single number. Now, for those of you who are thinking about how to pay for all this, domestic students at UNSW access Commonwealth supported places, which means the Australian government subsidises most of your tuition. You repay your share through HEX Help, which is the government loan scheme where you don't pay anything up front. Instead, your costs get repaid automatically through the tax system once you're earning above a certain threshold. UNSW also award over $83 million in scholarships every year, including their Community Plus scholarship, offering up to $25,000 per year for accommodation. It's aimed at students from lower income backgrounds. Now, for the full picture on Australian government support for university studies, we have a whole session on that, which covers everything in detail, and you can find that in the session description below. And a quick reminder that you can explore all the sessions, including our keynotes, at expo.choosingyouruni.com. The link for that is in the description. Now, with over 330 clubs and societies on campus, a 50-metre heated swimming pool, and the Roundhouse, which has been the social heart of campus since 1961. I've been to the odd concert band there myself. I'll be honest, this is a big, busy, commuter-heavy campus, but the social scene really exists. You might need to seek it out actively. It won't just come and wrap itself around you the way it might at a smaller residential university, but it's absolutely there, and it really is quite awesome. There's only so much that I can tell you from the outside, so here's another perspective from someone who's experienced UNSW firsthand. Why did you choose UNSW then?
So I came to the open day and I just fell in love with it straight away. I loved the vibe, I loved the societies. UNSW also does a lot of double degrees, and I couldn't decide between just science or just arts.
Nice.
And UNSW offers both. So I was like, might as well go here. It's like the perfect degree that suits my needs.
That kind of first-hand insight is always worth more than anything I can say from behind a desk. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I'm about to show you the numbers, the actual performance data, and there's a surprise in there. UNSW's graduate employment and salary figures are really strong, as you'd expect. But their student satisfaction score, well, that tells a different story. And you'll want to see how those numbers stack up against the universities you might be comparing UNSW with. Right, so let's get to those numbers. And these come from the QUILT. That's the Quality Indicators of Learning and Teaching, or for Learning and Teaching, I should say, which is the national student survey system. Every Australian university gets measured the same way. And I also use in this section QS and Times Higher Education Global Rankings, which measure research and reputation on a global stage. So let's go through them. Firstly, student satisfaction. It's 71.7%, and that's low by a national standard. That ties up with the University of Sydney for being amongst the lowest of the Australia's group of 8, which is the coalition of Australia's 8 leading research-intensive universities. For a university ranked this high globally, that number really stands out to me, and not necessarily in a good way. Part of it is almost certainly the trimester system causing stress and workload issues with students. The move back to semesters coming up very, very soon should help, but it's also worth watching. Teaching quality is also one that's really interesting, and it sits in a similar zone. UNSW is a research powerhouse, and at very large research universities, the undergraduate teaching experience can sometimes take a back seat. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's not unique to UNSW. It's a pattern across big research institutions globally, and it's something to be aware of. If your teacher is also doing their own doctorate degree at the same time, chances are they haven't got tons and tons of experience as a frontline teacher. Graduate employment is at 81.3%, and that's solid. It matches the University of Sydney and the University of Queensland, and it's above the University of Melbourne, which is at 67.7%. It's also above the University of Western Australia at 69.7%. So while the student experience scores are modest, the outcomes on your way out the door are actually pretty strong. That's obviously a good thing. The median graduate salary is $75,000. That comes from the QUILT data, and it's amongst the highest in Australia. As an example, putting it plainly, the median salary matches Curtin universities and is above most of UNSW's G08 peers. The university's own data cites even higher figures for established graduates, but this is the QUILT number, and it applies apples to apples as a comparison. Strong employers in Sydney, strong industry links, strong global outcomes. That's pretty much what you can expect from UNSW. Now on global rankings, for example, UNSW ranks 20th in the world on the QS World Rankings and is ranked 2nd in Australia. In Times Higher Ed, it's 79th globally and 5th in Australia. Looking at that QS number, it's quite remarkable. It's been in the top 20 universities for 3 consecutive years. The Times Higher Education ranking is lower, but that reflects simply a different methodology. Times Higher Ed weighs research citations differently. The reality is that neither number is telling the whole truth, and it's certainly not telling you what's relevant and important for you. Rankings measure what they measure, but a consistent top 20 QS position does tell you that something real is going on at UNSW. It tells you something real about the university's international reputation and its research output. So what's the story these numbers tell us? What it tells us is that UNSW is a place where the outcome, your career, your salary, your professional network, is exceptional. But the experience while you're there, that's where the university still has some room to grow. It's doing really well. You can have an amazing experience on campus. And you can compare all of these numbers side by side with any other university in Australia on the Choosing Your Uni platform. So let's compare UNSW to some of the other institutions where it has some similarities. So if I were evaluating the University of New South Wales, I wouldn't do so in isolation. Firstly, of course, I'd probably compare it with the University of Sydney. This is most likely one that you're already thinking about. They're literally across the city from each other. They're both group of 8. They're both globally in the top 25 on the QS Global rankings, and they're both in Sydney. Sydney Uni has a more traditional campus feel. It's sandstone, it's heritage, it's got that classic university atmosphere. UNSW is more modern, it's more applied, it's more industry forward. Student satisfaction is basically identical at the two at about 72%. And graduate employment is virtually the same. Sydney Uni's median salary is $70,000 versus UNSW's $75,000. The real difference comes down to the culture and the academic focus. If you're drawn to engineering, business, or applied tech, personally, I think UNSW has the edge. If you lean towards the arts, humanities, or medical research in a more traditional setting, Sydney Uni might suit you better. So make sure you go and watch that session. Secondly, let's talk about Monash University in Melbourne. If what draws you to UNSW is the combination of research intensity, scale, and employer reputation, Monash University is the closest match outside Sydney. It's also a group of 8 university that operates at a massive scale, over 80,000 students, with a similar emphasis on industry connection and graduate outcomes. Monash's median salary is $73,000, its graduate employment rate is 82%, and it ranks 36th on QS. So if you're open to Melbourne, Monash is genuinely a great alternative to UNSW in a way that most other group of 8 institutions aren't. Third, and this one might surprise you, but I'm thinking about UTS, the University of Technology Sydney. It's right there in the city. It's ranked 96th on QS, so it's inside the global top 100. And it shares UNSW's industry-focused DNA. UTS doesn't have that group of 8 badge, but its graduate employment outcomes are competitive and its teaching satisfaction scores tend to actually run higher than UNSW's. So if what you actually care about is a career-focused, practical education in Sydney, I think UTS deserves a serious look. It's a different scale and a different prestige tier, but the real-world outcomes are closer than you might think. So you can go and watch those sessions and then you can make your shortlist. And if you've got specific questions about any of these universities, the Choosing Your Uni Discord is there for students and the Facebook community is there for parents. The links are in the description below. Also, if you haven't already, Anita Van Ruyen's Making Confident Decisions keynote is really worth your time. It'll help you think through how to actually weigh up these options, like once you've done the research. Before we wrap up, I want to get to a couple of questions that came in from registered participants ahead of this session. The first one came from Steve, and he says, UNSW's trimester system put me off applying. Now that they're going back to semesters, should I reconsider? And to be honest, I think the short answer is yes. The trimester system was a genuine problem for some students. I wouldn't say for all students, but staff and students both said that it was a challenge. And so the university's own review confirmed that, and the university has now listened, reversed course, and is doing something positive about it. The system is moving back to 2 12-week semesters with proper mid-semester breaks and the optional summer and winter intensives. So I think that's a much more manageable structure. If trimesters were your only concern, I would absolutely take another look at UNSW. Now that concludes our session on UNSW Sydney. Remember, the Virtual Expo is on all week. Every session is available not only live, but also on demand. And you'll find the full schedule in the Expo Hub with the details down below. I'd like to flag a couple of sessions specifically. If you haven't yet watched the Start Here, Getting Started with Choosing a Uni session, and you're not sure what you might want to study and where, that's really a great session to get you started. It covers the whole process of choosing a university from scratch. We've also got a great session from the Australian government on funding and support for Australian domestic students, and I think you'll find that one of the most practical and useful sessions of the entire Expo, so don't skip it. Now, if you haven't already, check out the Choosing Your Uni YouTube channel. We've done independent reviews on every single university in Australia, and the Choosing Your Uni platform is free and it's designed to help guide you to the fields of study and the universities that align with your interests, goals, and preferences. It takes only a minute to sign up and you'll find the link in the description down below. That's it for this session. I'll see you next time. I'm Rob Malicki. Take care. Well, I hope you got something out of this session, and if you have any questions at all, you can head to choosingyouruni.com and ask Lumen. Lumen is your AI guide who knows about every university, every pathway, every option that we've talked about throughout this virtual expo, and Lumen is available to talk to you 24/7, so it's ready when you are.